All right, this is my music topic presentation. My topic, I went with John Denver, and I am Nick Hyland. All right, so to start off with the beginning of John Denver's life, he was actually born Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. You can see why he changed the name later on in life. And he was born in Roswell, Arizona. That's because his father was an Air Force officer, and the family had to live near him as he lived on a military base. And so throughout Denver's life, he moved around a lot to follow his father um, to different Air Force bases. They originally moved from Roswell to Tucson, where they stayed for a few years. That's where he originally joined the choir at his middle school. And he actually kind of liked Tucson. However, in 1959, his father again moved the family to Montgomery and finally to Fort Worth. So Denver really had a tough time in school. He wasn't very social. But he was able to find community and build community with music. And in fact, he received his first guitar at the age of 11. It was his grandma's guitar. And that's really when he began using music to find friends and really to create community. And so that was really always his sort of life aspirations was to do something with that. And at the age of 20, he strikes out for L.A. Okay, so Denver is at Texas Tech from the ages of 18 to 20, and he's in the folk music group, the Alpine Trio. That's when he changes his name to John Denver. At the age of 20, he quits from Texas Tech and moves to LA to join the Chad Mitchell Trio, the Chad Mitchell Trio. There we go. And he sings with them for 4 years. They are also a folk group. After 4 years with them, in 1969, he goes out on his own and releases his first album, which is not very popular. It talks about in the sources I researched from that he mainly just handed them out to his family during Christmas, or handed them out to strangers on the street. But one song in that album, "Babe, I Hate to Go," despite the fact that the album wasn't very popular, that would later be have its name changed to "Leavin' on a Jet Plane," which would later be a massive single for Denver. And kind of the re-release of that was very popular. And so, in a way, that was kind of his first hit in his early music career. So the 1970s is when Denver really, his career really takes off. Uh, Over the course of the year from 69 to 70, he built up a solid fan base. But the 70s, and especially the early 70s, are when his career really takes off. Of course, everyone knows "Take Me Home, Country Roads," "Rocky Mountain High," "Thank God I'm a Country Boy." Those were all singles that were just massively popular. "Take Me Home, Country Roads" reached number 2 on the Billboard rankings. "Rocky Mountain High" is an album which, yes, "Rocky Mountain High" is an album, the name of an album, as well as its own song within the album, and both the album and song itself both reached the top 10. "Thank God I'm a Country Boy" was number 1 in 1975, and Denver also in the 70s had many other songs and albums which were all within the top 10s, top 100s. They were very popular, and Denver, in fact, did become a very popular folk slash country singer of the time. And the 70s is really when he makes a name for himself. So because of Denver's great success in the 70s, he also breaks into the TV game. Now, this was largely helped by his new manager of the time, who he picked up in 1970, Jerry Weintraub. Weintraub helps him cultivate sort of the look that he has, that I'm sure we all know, of the granny glasses and kind of, the sort of long bowl haircut. That look very much helped Denver kind of shift between the folk and country audience. Of course, he also wore, kind of cowboy clothes, vest with sort of old west kind of scenery on them, and that helped Denver shift in between sort of the more urban and the more rural groups with the different kinds of or the styles of music that he was kind of bringing together. And it's with this look that makes Denver so enormously popular, both in music and on TV. He's a guest star on many TV shows in the 70s, and also goes on, the biggest talk shows of the time, Johnny Carson, those kind of guys. And so he's a wildly popular sort of cultural icon. Um, Weintraub really wants to help him break into the British audience, which was just a massive goal for him because he saw how much success musicians could have amongst the English, and so they set up a TV series on the BBC called The John Denver Show in 1973, which definitely does help him kind of branch out from just sort of an American audience. He goes on the Muppet Show back home, which was obviously, the hottest of hot stars go on the Muppet Show, so that was a great indicator that kind of TV game was working out for him. He also hosts a show called An Evening with John Denver, which is a music and comedy act. In 1974, he wins a Emmy for Outstanding Special Comedy Music Act for An Evening with John Denver. Finally, he's also able to break into the movie game by performing with George Burns in the movie Oh God, which did very well. And it really just shows Denver's versatility as a star. It wasn't just specifically a music thing for him. He knew that he could kind of break into these multiple different aspects of media and do very well in all of them. All right, so the 1980s and 90s for Denver's career, they certainly weren't as sort of musically charged, fewer hits, that kind of thing. He still does produce music, though, at the time. He hosts the 1983 to 84 Grammys and is joined by folk singer Joan Baez to perform. They perform Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan, which is a wildly popular folk music song. In 1984, Denver composes the theme song for the Winter Olympics. He was asked to do that by ABC and performs it there. So, kind of a testament to how big of a star he had become in the 70s. He tours the USSR in 1985. He's the first American to do so in over a decade, and he has 11 concerts there all around that country. And so, his audience certainly wasn't just American, despite the fact that, the country style is a very sort of American style of music. And he's inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1996 because most of his songs were written by himself and, his agent or other close groups of people. And that's really a testament to, not many singers get inducted into that Hall of Fame, and so it's a testament to how versatile he was as a composer. And that goes to the Winter Olympics theme song. He wasn't just the singer, but he wasn't just kind of the face of the song, but he was also the brains of it. So certainly a lot of versatility there as a song maker. So as I said before, the 80s and 90s weren't as big for Denver's music career, but they certainly were massive for him kind of exercising his stardom to help causes that he was passionate about. So these include the environment, fighting for the homeless, and the AIDS crisis, which was a massive problem at the time. Denver was an outspoken advocate for the gay community and for LGBTQ rights, and so that the AIDS crisis was certainly something that was affecting that community at the time, and so he was a big advocate for supporting them and for helping, kind of stem that problem. He's also a great advocate for peace and prosperity, a lot of domestic issues that he fights for. He's critical of the Reagan administration's arms buildup against the Soviet Union. In fact, he makes the song Let Us Begin with the subtitle What Are We Making Weapons For? In response to Reagan's massive arms buildup. Obviously, he had toured the Soviet Union before that, and so there's certainly Denver can recognize, that not everyone over there is a bad guy. In 1987, he receives the Presidential World Without Hunger Award for his massive, advocacy for social programs to help the homeless and to help the hungry and the poor. He performs at the Aspens Camp for deaf children numerous times. He has annual performances there from 1973 to 79, and in 1979 he was the largest donor to that camp, which at the time was the largest camp for deaf children in the U.S. And finally, he testifies at the PMRC Senate hearing. Now, this was a hearing actually, or a hearing for a committee headed by the wife of Al Gore, Tippi Gore. And I hope I'm getting that name right. Shoot, I should have wrote it down. I think it's Tippi Gore, yeah. Who was fighting for labels on different music records, kind of advising parents whether or not they should allow their children to listen to it. And so because of that, the Senate in this hearing brings in a lot of heavy metal singers like Dee Snider and Frank Zappa. And, they kind of are thinking, oh, these rock and rollers are going to come on in and kind of embarrass themselves because they're, not as put together as us senators. And they actually show them up. They do a very good job kind of testifying in their defense and talking about free speech. And the Senate brings in Denver, kind of thinking that, because he's more clean-cut kind of country guy, he'll be in favor of them. And Denver really shocks a lot of people by fighting for his fellow musicians. He advocates for free speech, even if that means siding with more controversial artists. And that's really how Denver gets involved in a lot of political activism. And so finally, I'd like to turn to John Denver's legacy, the impact that he left on American culture and really the world. So he dies on October 12th of 1997 in a plane crash. He loved to fly. That was one of his many passions in life. And it was while he was flying his own plane after a crash that he would pass away. Upon that announcement, all state flags in Colorado, which he frequently said was his favorite state. In fact, his new name, John Denver, Denver obviously being the capital of Colorado, were ordered to be at half staff, kind of in memorial to him. And his songs in the U.S., their impact just cannot go understated. Two of his songs, Rocky Mountain High and Take Me Home Country Roads, are the official state song of two states. You can see there, Rocky Mountain High, state song of Colorado, and Take Me Home Country Roads, state song of West Virginia. Denver's ability to bring together folk music and country music really did unite two groups that had nothing in common up to this point. Sort of the urban folk group and the rural country group are brought together by John Denver, and it's upon his shoulders that they are sort of united. He's added to the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2014, and today millions of fans continue to enjoy his work from more than 30 albums that he produced over 4 decades of work. And to end off here, I'd like to end with a little quote that doesn't necessarily just have to do with Denver's bringing together of the folk and country communities, but really what his philosophy on what music could do for people. So it goes a little something like this. He said that music does bring people together. It allows us to experience the same emotions. People everywhere are the same in heart and spirit. No matter what language we speak, what color we are, the form of our politics, or the expression of our love and our faith, music proves we are the same. And I think that was just very eloquently put. So yes, that is my presentation on John Denver and the enormous strides that he made in his career and upon American culture. Thanks for watching.